how exciting is it for Suits LA? How excited are you to be back?
I'm excited. We had a good time. It was definitely nostalgic for me. I find it because I've been doing some brand ambassador work and partnerships with this Verified Whiskey that I'm working with. There's When I put on the suit, it's a little bit easy to get back into character. So that makes it more efficient use of my creative time. But I did enjoy working with Steven and the gang over in Suits LA. We've got a lot of the same writers from the original, and the stories are good. They're very similar in scope to the original show, and we're in the same universe, so it was a lot of fun.
Oh my God, I can only imagine. So for you, obviously you mentioned when you put on the suit, it's easier to get back into character. But what was the best part about stepping back into Harvey's shoes?
The best part is that I only had to learn, I don't know, 6 to 9 pages of dialogue for 5 days, not 9 years.
Yeah. And so when we meet Harvey now, how has he evolved and changed since the last time?
I think he's settled in his skin. I think he is really happy where things are at in his personal life. I think that he's a guy who has so much integrity. He's got a heart of gold, and obviously he does things not by the book at times, but when it comes to old friends and people in need, and where he really believes that he can help out in a meaningful way, he steps up. And so it was nice to get back into that sort of dynamic. And he and the character of Ted have a long-standing relationship, and they very much come from the same cloth, and so they're able to, you know, take the piss out of each other, but also you can see that he really supports him, and they're able to connect on many different levels that you'll see in the coming episodes.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, how would you describe the relationship between Harvey and Ted? And also, much of it we see the flashbacks and going back into the storyline as well.
Well, the flashbacks. So far, you've seen, Ted's dealing with this personal crisis. Um, And I think in the flashbacks, we've established that Harvey was part, they both played on the same baseball team. And in many ways, Harvey's a guy who was able to sort of get Ted to focus on what's important. And so in the previous episode, we've seen him like, he's got this personal stuff going on, and Harvey's like, you're hitting batters, you're just all over the place. You got to focus on let's getting this team to the playoffs. And so that was a big part of that last episode. You're gonna see that Harvey back in the day made a couple of judgment calls that made sense for him, but it didn't really help out Ted. And so when we see Harvey in the present day, it's he's coming back to help an old friend based on the situation, the circumstances that are current, and you can see why they respect each other and support each other.
Awesome. And for fans, I mean, it was going to feel like you're linking back up with old friends, and it feels so familiar. But then we get these new storylines as well.
Yeah, I mean that's it. That's just it. Like there's a piece of I'm sure people like to see Harvey early on in the early days, and then where he's at now and what's going on in his personal relationships. And I think Aaron Korsh, who writes the show, I think he left a couple really sweet Easter eggs that will fulfill some of the fans' desires for what's going on in Harvey's life.
Oh, snap. I mean, these fans, the show has just keeps gaining new fans and new fans, and the OG fans are very dedicated as well. What do you think it is about the show that has that appeal that keeps people coming back?
I think there's a bunch of different reasons. One is I think people like um, shows about family and office, like office dynamics, and how people treat each other and how they, show who they're aligned with and their value system, their beliefs. And I think, for dramas, you always have to have sort of error of judgments. And I think humans, we're all human. I think we make errors of judgment all the time. And so I think we relate to people making mistakes and trying to understand the mistakes that they've made and make amends for them and figure out how to solve, situations, relationships, dynamics, all that kind of stuff. And so I think there's, in many ways, people, I think, respond to these characters as they see themselves. Another version is, with the resurgence a couple of years ago on Netflix. I mean, I think one of the reasons that came about is, the kids these days, with TikTok and Instagram, they see these like 30-second minute bites. And some of these bites have, a lot of the quippy dialogue. A lot of these bites are motivational, inspirational beats. And when they're put together, they become extremely aspirational and inspirational. And I think that there was a whole generation of people that were like getting those little nuggets, and
Mhm.
that brought them to the show. And then we've seen, this explosion of attention on this show. I mean, the show did really well early on, the original, and we've had different versions of the show all over the world with Japan and South Korea and Egypt, and so it just made sense. Like, why not create a universe of this? So now we're in Suits LA. Who knows? Maybe in a couple of years we'll see Suits Miami. I mean,
A lot more flash in that one, probably. Um, so can fans expect any more original cast members to make a comeback? I know that all the original cast members still love the show, speak highly of the show, but any more people that we can recruit?
Well, we do know that Rick Hoffman's coming back, and I think fans are going to love that. Patrick and Sarah have mentioned that they would love to come back, and I'm sure at some point I'm sure that's going to happen at some point. I don't know for sure right now if it's happening this season. Another Easter egg is that there is another character that we've seen prior that will appear in the next few episodes, and but I think that's a little bit of another hidden Easter egg.
Okay, so that's still under wraps. You're not going to tell us that one, right?
Can't tell you.
Okay, okay. I know people are gonna beg for a Meghan reunion. Any chance of that?
You never know. I don't. I wouldn't. I say never say never.
Yeah. But she is again she has her own show on Netflix, with Love Megan. She's doing amazing in this lifestyle space. Have you had a chance to check it out yet?
No, I haven't. But all good things for Megan. I hope she's doing great.
Yeah, love that. Um, and then yeah, just lastly, I guess, what can fans expect going forward? Anything else that you could tell us about these Easter eggs? I know I'm prying.
Hmm. So Harvey's a Macallan guy, right? He loves his whiskey, and the last few years since I have not been working, I've been fortunate enough to partnership with Bear Fight Whiskey, and so I would say, Harvey's a Macallan guy, Gabriel's a Bear Fight guy. One possible Easter egg might be that Ted is a Bear Fight guy, but we'll have to see.
Gabriel, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. And I know fans are just going to be so excited to see this. And hopefully, we're speaking into existence. Suits Miami, Suits New York, Suits International.
That's it. You know what? Fans of the show can dream, right? Who knows? From
Exactly.
God's lips.